Joining me now, John Funn, columnist with the Wall Street Journal, Miguel Perez, syndicated columnist with The Record and New Jersey, and from Washington, D.C., Tom DeFrank, Washington bureau chief of the New York Daily News. Good to have you all with us. Let's start with what is happening right now in Washington State. We're just reporting, Tom DeFrank, the idea that there's going to be a challenge to the 14th interpretation of the 14th Amendment on anchor babies. Do you think that's going to go anywhere?
Really not, Lou. I mean, obviously, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a legal expert. That just
no, but you're a political expert if there ever were one.
Well, but it's a legal issue, and I think legally that's a hard row to go to plow. I just don't think so.
John?
Let's have a case. Take it up to the Supreme Court. That's the only way to resolve it.
It's going too far. I think we should reform immigration, reform the broken immigration system, but why go after the children now? I mean, it's just going too far.
Yeah, it's an interesting case. It's part of the frustration here. The idea that we have a president, we have just reported, as you know, for weeks here, and months, years, on illegal immigration and our border security crisis. Today, in the Washington Post, Robert Samuelson, in his column, discussed the issue of immigration in the Senate legislation. And one of the things he said was, one job of journalism is to inform the public about what our political leaders are doing. In this case, he says, we failed. And he's referring to the fact that the number of legal immigrants who would be admitted to this country, Tom DeFrank, wasn't even discussed by the Senate. They wouldn't have even known what was happening if the Heritage Foundation and Robert Rector hadn't shown them that there'd be over 100 million, an explosion of 100 million legal immigrants with this legislation. Why did that happen, do you think, Tom?
Well, I just think there was such a rush to get a bill. The president needs a bill. The Senate needs a bill. They need something to bludgeon the House Republicans with. I just think they didn't really want to have time. I don't think they really wanted to talk about this much. I just think they wanted a bill, and the details, we'll work it out later.
Lou, the Heritage Foundation numbers include a lot of double counting, a lot of extrapolations. The Congressional Budget Office, whom your Lisa Sylvester just cited in the last segment, they came up with entirely different numbers. I think there should have been a debate.
Actually, they didn't. The Congressional Budget Office, as we've been reporting here for the last now 2 weeks, nearly 3 weeks, came up with an estimate, John, I think you know this, based on 6 to 7 million illegal immigrants. Made no assumptions about the extended families that would come in. It was a vast
We should have had a debate about both numbers, but the assumptions in the Heritage Foundation's report were assumptions of extrapolation.
Whether the number is 40 million, 60 million, or 100 million. The Senate wasn't honest enough to even have the discussion. And in my opinion, this Senate is an absolute disgrace on this. And to hold itself up as some paragon of a deliberative body taking on a serious public policy issue, I mean, that's disgraceful, don't you think?
The media could have raised the issue, and they should have.
Well, we did. Did you do it, Tom, in your newspaper?
Yeah, no, we've done a lot of stories on
I
this.
Thought
sure.
So. And
it
Miguel?
doesn't take me by surprise at all that a lot of legal immigrants would follow these illegal immigrants once we make them legal.
No, I don't think it should be a
It happened in 1986, where a lot of people were given amnesty, and then they claimed their relatives. It's to be expected that this was happening. I don't know what the alarm is. Why are we so alarmed by legal immigration? I thought the problem was illegal immigration.
You have a Senate talking, Miguel, about comprehensive immigration reform. Mm-hmm. I'm all about illegal immigration, brother. I want it shut down, and I want the borders secured. Make no mistake about it. But when the United States Senate isn't forthcoming in its own public policy deliberations and doesn't even know the facts, I mean, that's the issue. It's not a question of legal immigration or otherwise. It's just an absurdity. If we're being given a roadmap to our future by a president and the Senate.
Lou, it seems to me that all the alarm is because a lot of legal immigrants from Latin America would be coming, and people are xenophobic. They're alarmed about the fact that, look, we're going to check we're going to change the demographic makeup of America, and blah, blah, blah. That's what it's all about.
Miguel, let me ask you something. Do you think it would make one whit's difference to anyone in this country that we had 3 million illegal aliens who were coming here from Germany, from the United Kingdom, from Australia or Indonesia? Do you think that'd make any difference to them? Or do you think the fact of that kind of massive illegal immigration is the issue.
Yes, it does make a difference because we wouldn't be so alarmed about the Mexican border. There are a lot of people.
Miguel,
there's a lot of people who are coming here legally, violating their visas and staying from all over the world. Why are we so concerned only about Mexico?
Well, because they're the ones sending their people. They're exporting their poverty, their lack of education.
Coming from all over Latin America,
now
from the Mexican border.
You're the one who
but
raised
they're also coming from all over the world legally and overstaying. So
Miguel,
why are we raising hell about that?
We are raising hell. If you've been paying attention here, Miguel, I'm raising a lot of hell.
Okay.
In trying to raise a few issues and facts about this. It's like the old saying, give them hell, but we're really just trying to get the truth out there. Thank you, Miguel. We'll be right back with John Fund, Tom DeFrank, Miguel Perez. Stay with us.
That guy with his inappropriate questions.
You trust your husband?
And smart comebacks.
Move on, people.
Glenn Beck is that guy. Tonight at 7 and 9.
Quebec, providing emotion since 1534.
Call now to start your weekend with New York Times Home Delivery.
The New York Times is the greatest paper in the world, without a doubt. It's the quality of the writing.
It's aerobics for the brain.
Just incredibly interesting. So many things you can get out of it. It's the newspaper of New York.
Call 1-800-423-0707 for home delivery, starting at $2.50 per weekend.
I don't just trust anybody to bring me the news.
It looks at things from all angles. Whenever I'm in doubt, I look in the New York Times.
Call now for 12 weeks, starting at $2.50 per weekend. That's 50% off.
No other newspaper can cover what the New York Times covers.
More in-depth stories. A better array of international news.
There's articles where I live.
It's a rich cultural celebration.
What the latest trend is.
It's almost like a guide to New York.
Call now for home delivery and have the Times waiting for you.
It starts my day. It's my window to the world.
We don't really feel that we're ready for a Monday unless we've read it on Sunday.
There's nothing quite like the Times. Call 1-800-423-0707 for home delivery, starting at $2.50 per weekend.
There's the Times and there's everything else.
Body Parts, an all-new CNN presents Saturday and Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
Now back with the panel. Tom DeFrank, let me ask you, the Congressman Jefferson case, a constitutional crisis, a 45-day, almost everything in this case is frozen. $90,000 in cash frozen in the congressman's freezer. The president is frozen. The documents obtained for 45 days. Where are we headed with this?
Well, I think we're headed probably to indictments of Congressman Jefferson, who probably should be pursuing his next employment opportunities. But I don't think it's a constitutional crisis. It's a constitutional separation of powers issue that needs to be looked at. But I don't think it's a constitutional crisis at all. Mainly, I think a lot of Republicans were looking at a way to stick it back to the White House over what they perceive as White House arrogance over the last 5 years. That's a piece of it. And the Democrats, of course, piled on as well.
Do you agree with that?
The White House should have negotiated with House lawyers on a better way to search the offices. But let's face it, judges have had their chambers searched by FBI in course of investigations. If we have the congressmen literally able to keep all of their papers there away from any search, I mean, they could literally move all of their criminal operations if they should choose to have them there, and no one can touch them. So
there are
I think
those, as you know, John, who would argue that many of them do have criminal operations.
No, I don't agree with Mark Twain that Congress is a native criminal class. I don't.
You don't. Well, I do. Miguel, let me...
I'm not at all concerned about the separation of powers here. I think if you're a crook, you're a crook, and you should be investigated, period. And especially if you're in a position as a congressman. That's all there is to it.
They didn't have to do it in the dead of night. They could have negotiated that with House lawyers. The House lawyers could have moved in and taken
the dead of night is the way Washington seemingly likes to work in other ways. So the executive...
I don't think we should encourage that at any level.
The FBI was simply conforming to work habits, I believe.
Well, it was probably not smart for the FBI, allegedly, to threaten to kick in the congressman's door if the sergeant of arms and his staff didn't stand aside either.
Do you think, let me turn to you, John, just quickly, we got a few seconds, this new initiative apparently on the part of the administration to get involved directly with Iran, is it a breakthrough? Is it perhaps something that will be productive?
It's born out of frustration because right now we're not going to have effective sanctions on Iran because the Chinese and the Russians are blocking them. I think the White House is trying to find Plan C.
And Haditha, the massacre, Miguel, alleged massacre in Haditha, this, your reaction?
Shames us all. This country is the beacon of human rights for the rest of the world. Yeah. And we have to clean that up. We have to, if we have to investigate it, and we have to be straightforward about it. If we committed wrongs, we have to come out and say to the whole world, listen, we were wrong.
It makes us all gut sick to even think that there would be such charges, let alone the prospect of a reality and a truth. Thank you, Miguel. Thank you, John. Tom, thank you very much. From Washington, D.C., Tom DeFrank, John Funda, Miguel Perez here in New York. Up next, the results of our poll. They're overwhelming. Stay with us.